Hollywood is the greatest propaganda machine that has ever existed. What did Stalin say? What did Lenin say? What did Hitler say? If I can control the movie theaters, I can control the world.
The culture was stolen through entertainment product. It can be reclaimed the same way.
We've proven that it can be done. And by the way, when we stood up, others stood up because they watched. That's how you cause revolution, because others see what you do.
People tend to believe that money is the god in Hollywood, and it's not. Money's a demigod in Hollywood. It's desirable, but it's not what rules. Political correctness and leftism is what rules Hollywood.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. Now, as Hollywood has taken different hits, whether it's them trying to push their own political agendas through films and so on, or whether it's them just, well, dealing with the virus, an interesting shift we're now seeing taking place is a new Hollywood building up from the grassroots. We have with us here Cary Solomon and Chuck Konzelman. It's a real pleasure having you on Crossroads.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
So I want to hear your story. Now, you did this film. I mean, of course, I want to talk about Unplanned, but I want to talk first about God's Not Dead, because really, you created one of the highest grossing films ever made, basically doing something that gets you blacklisted in Hollywood and burning your bridges with an industry that you kind of did what everyone's afraid of doing, and you showed that it works. And so I'm curious, I want to start by just how this happened. You were successful filmmakers in Hollywood, and you left that behind to take a real big gamble. I mean, what happened?
We were in the secular industry for 17, 18 years, and it was horrible. It was dark, it was perverse, it was everything we weren't. It's political, spiritual, moral intentions were all evil in our opinion, and we were about to leave. We were legitimately about to leave the business because, I mean, our soul was being just destroyed. And through a series of miraculous things, and I can tell you it was miracle after miracle, we were called to come out of Hollywood and start a new Hollywood, which was basically where faith and family and tradition and all these things and truth matter. And that's literally how it started. God called us out of that and spoke to us. And we did what he asked.
What was kind of interesting was we were represented by one of the big agencies at the time, and they had just booted a deal pretty badly. So we said we were leaving, and they're like, "Oh, where are you going?" And we said, "We're not going anywhere." And they thought they were willing to send someone over. They thought we were going to do something stupid. They thought we were going to commit suicide. And we're like, "No, we're not doing that. We're going into faith and values filmmaking." And then
they're like, "Oh, the other career suicide."
Right.
What was really strange was then they didn't want to have any more conversation. In their mind, suicide was a reasonable option, but doing what we were doing, that was just beyond the pale. That was just crazy.
Right. Yeah.
So, I think on the outside, everyone kind of has their own idea of the darker side of Hollywood. We hear stories about it. I guess first off, you were working on some big films. Can you tell us a bit about some of the films you were working on and what turned you away from mainstream Hollywood?
I mean, it was everything, any creative spirit you have is crushed by Hollywood because they take the attitude that if you don't think like us, if you're not an automaton, if you're not a machine that thinks the way we want morally, spiritually, or in any other way, we don't need you, we'll destroy you, we'll crush you. So you're fighting, you're constantly swimming upstream. We did everything. We did movies with Stallone, we did Bruce Willis, we did Stan Lee, all the Marvel stuff, God rest his soul. We did TV shows, we did a lot of stuff, but your heart gets rended when you can't create. If you're a creative person, you need to create. A painter needs to paint. But you can't paint what you don't believe. And so spiritually, morally, we believe in faith, we believe in family, we believe in truth, tradition, all these things. They don't. And so that was shocking to us. But then when you add a second layer, there's a tremendous darkness in Hollywood that people don't know. I used to say that if the people actually knew what was going on behind the scenes in Hollywood, it would be like one of those old black and white films where the villagers get the pitchforks and the torches and they come to burn the monster in the castle. They would burn down the studios. I'm talking about things that are unconscionable.
Because the things that you see and hear on the Twitter feeds and wherever else that seem pretty awful, that's the public face. That's what everybody's willing to say publicly. What's said in private is a lot worse than that. And it's really, what's really interesting is that because we tended to be traditional and conservative, and we were practicing Christians, we would hear all this stuff because no one in the industry would think that you could possibly be of that mindset. So they would say all the terrible things right in front of you. And they would, because they figure that conservatives go around wearing swastika armbands or something.
They really actually believe that.
So,
which is...
Yeah, so they just say these things and you just kind of let it run off because like a lot of people in the industry, and there are a lot of people like this, you just have to kind of run silent and run deep if you're going to look to work in the industry for a while.
But I think it's important for people to note that we chose not to run silent, run deep. We stood out. I think it's time for people to become muscular. I think you have to stand up. If you don't stand up, we're done for. And so what we do is we stand up. This is our ministry. This is our life. We fight for our country, our beliefs, and for the world, for family and all the things that we consider as righteous. So when we go to work every day, it's not work for us. This is our cause. And we're carrying our cross in that way. And so if we get that attack, hey, we're doing something right. So we take joy out of it.
I think the recent events of the last 6 months make it pretty clear that if we don't look to reclaim the culture, we're in a lot of trouble. And this is how we do it. The culture was stolen through entertainment product. It can be reclaimed the same way.
That's very interesting. Now, actually, speaking of that, so that's what you guys kind of did. You left Hollywood, shocked them, told them you're going to make faith films, and I'm sure that was an interesting discussion. And you made this your first film, God's Not Dead. And I remember seeing this film get announced, and at first I'm like, oh, it's just, what is this? This and that. You're so used to seeing the Hollywood machine working the way it does, and you just don't expect anything,
right,
good of that nature to come out of it. And so I thought maybe it's just some film with just a name, agenda-based name, but no, it wasn't actually. You really did take this kind of real moral, traditional approach.
It was an unexpected success on every level. It was actually, now in retrospect, it was actually designed, the budget was minuscule. It was made for under $1 million. And so it was actually designed to be what was in those days a direct-to-home video movie. There was no expectation that this was going to go out and succeed theatrically. And what happened was, once the film started coming together and it was shown to a few key influencers and like, hey, this is really good. And it was a time in American culture where Christians felt that they were being hunted down in terms of the belief system. We've returned to that, I think. And so it just made sense, and it was lightning in a bottle. I think it was the timing of its release strongly benefited the film.
I just think it was, the hand of the Lord, and you fight back, and occasionally you get a victory. And that's what we did with the film. I mean, we didn't hold back on that film. And, I give a lot of credit to everyone who helped and to people who said yes. The movie theater people had to say yes at that point. I don't know if they would say yes to God's Not Dead today, because I think a lot of people are being cowed. But it was an amazing journey for that movie. That movie made, like he said, under $1 million. It's made like 130, 140, 150 million dollars.
And so many people said this mirrors what I went through. I mean, the circumstances may change, but this is the struggle we went through in college or in some, even in high school.
But I also want to say something that I saw in that movie that really energized us. We would be in a movie theater and we would see 150, 200 people stand up in the middle of the movie, and they would be cheering things that were being said on the screen. A pastor would stand up and say to someone, or a priest would say, come, and they would convert in the movie theater. 150, 200 people. It was unbelievable. I'd never seen that in a movie. And so I was just like, what is this thing that's happening here? And I think it's this thing inside people. They want goodness. They want truth. They want to see it, and they know it when they see it. And I think it just was like electricity. It just invigorated everyone.
Yeah, well, you created, with that first film that you made after leaving the mainstream kind of bent of Hollywood, you validated that is a viable option, that works. And, you guys created one of the highest grossing films ever made in a way that I think nobody thought was possible.
Including us.
Well, what was really interesting is that, so you did that, and then, a lot of guys would be like, okay, we've successfully built our own alternative film industry. Let's keep making movies like this. Now you seem to have gone to, said, okay, there's a little bit of this bridge to mainstream Hollywood left. Let's just burn the rest of it down. And you made a very politically, a very political one. This, not moral, I guess, but considered political, Unplanned.
A pro-life movie in a pro-choice town. Yeah, that's what we did.
And so it's like there's a little bit of that bridge left.
In case there was anybody that didn't hate us, we just made sure that they
so now they all hate
flip,
us.
Yeah.
Well, and I read you guys were getting death threats on this, right?
And we got everything.
Yeah.
I mean, there was social media pressure before, like today. The social media pressure was crazy. They cut us off. We had money. We legitimately had money to advertise. When have you ever heard advertising companies say no? Okay? Yeah. Every theater chain, everything. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Twitter destroyed our account on the night of opening weekend, Friday night of opening weekend. And marketing campaigns are a lot like political campaigns. You build white-hot intensity for one particular date. And that's Friday night of opening weekend. And so the first thing they did was they cut off our Twitter feed completely, and then the next morning, when they partially restored it, we had a better than 100-to-1 reduction. We had 200,000 plus followers, and we went to under 2,000. And the star of our movie, Ashley Bratcher, and the subject of our movie, Abby Johnson, were both unable to follow their own movie. So that's how thorough the purge was.
It was so abusive that we went to the White House twice. We were called to the White House twice.
We were called to testify before Ted Cruz's
Yeah.
Senate Judiciary Subcommittee on Suppression of Conservative Thought. So we're kind of being suppressed, I think, before it was fashionable. A lot of other folks have joined us since.
Like the hipsters of suppression.
Lucky us.
One of the places I wasn't looking to be a trailblazer, but there we go.
I mean, and so what happened actually? I mean, you guys were getting death threats too?
There were all kinds of things that were happening. There was all kinds of pressure in every way. But I will tell you that we were protected. And in every single way. I mean, the presence, it was miraculous. It was impossible to make that movie. We were told in prayer to go to Oklahoma, which is the reddest state in the Union, and and literally to hide to make the movie, because we figured people would come to the set and blow up the generators or bomb the warehouses or destroy the sets.
Sure.
And it was a legitimate thing. We had a special team of operatives and stuff on set. I mean, it was a legitimate concern. And here's a little movie having to do that. Just think about that. As a matter of fact, by the way, Unplanned.
We filmed under an assumed name. We didn't want anybody catching wind of what we were doing, and so people knew that it was a faith and values friendly project, but they didn't know what it was. And then we can say now we were in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and word started getting around, and people in town were praying for us, which was really
neat. It was amazing. It was really
I knew we were in the right place when we drove from the airport to the town the first time. There was a billboard, and it had this big picture of a cowboy, and it said, "Real cowboys love babies." And I'm like, okay, we're in the right place.
The right place. The irony of Unplanned, too, was that it was voted the most dangerous movie of the century. And everyone was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "What do you mean you're sorry? That's awesome." Since the century, movies have only been going for one century. To be voted the #1 most dangerous movie to the enemy of what you're doing, I mean, that's awesome.
What you both of you did is, I think, what most Hollywood conservatives are terrified of doing, and what you've dealt with is basically what they're all afraid of, which is why you have these secret groups of conservatives, that like meet in secret. And I mean, I don't know how it goes. I pictured like this Eyes Wide Shut thing. It's just like they're really well behaved, and they meet in secret and like wear masks.
The worst kept secret in Hollywood.
It's like they're afraid of being revealed because they're afraid of.
We don't get invited to those groups.
By the way, they're afraid of being outed, and they'll use the word outed. So that word has taken a whole different meaning than it used to have. It used to have a different meaning that you're afraid of being outed as a conservative in town. Yeah.
And so they're afraid of not being allowed to make movies again. They're afraid of not getting roles. They're afraid of being attacked by the media. They're afraid of being canceled online. You guys, all this has happened to you.
They're right, by the way. When you make that jump, you have to do business outside the system. I mean, with all the films we've done and so forth, would you want to take a guess how many agents, managers, and entertainment attorneys have called us looking to represent us over the last 10 years?
Not one.
We did get one call, by the way, from one of the big 3 agencies, but only because in our mainstream career we were represented by them. I think they dug up an old phone book and they made a wrong number call because they asked for someone else. So I'm convinced that they they accessed our number through an old phone book and they got the wrong number. That was it.
I think what it comes down to is if you're a conservative, it's time to man up. You got to do what you got to do. You know, the spirit of American cowboy has got to rise again. You've got, and if it's not America, if it's England or France or Italy or anywhere, anyone who's watching this, the spirit of man has got to rise up. You know, our attitude is that they're going to put us away. They're going to get rid of us if they can do that. And we're not just going to walk quietly into the night. Okay, it's just not going to happen. And we will do everything in our power. We also believe in a higher power. We believe in God, obviously, and He has spoken, and He has said, look, I will protect you. Go forward, serve me, do the right thing. I will protect you. So we're warriors that march into battle. You know, very specifically on Unplanned, He said to us, put on your armor. I want you to pick up your shield, put on your armor, put on your sword, your greaves, your helmet, and I want you to march into battle. I need to know, and I got this in prayer. I am totally serious on this. I'm praying, and I hear this, and in my spirit as well, the Lord said to us, I need you to go forth into battle. And when you take the field to battle, I know you're going to be scared. And we were. But when you go on the field of battle, you're going to look to the right and left, and you're going to see an army that is so immense against you that it will break you. But I need to know that you will take the field of battle. But do not worry. If you take the field of battle, I will defeat the army. And no greater example of that than Unplanned. It was impossible that movie got made. Impossible.
It was impossible it got released.
It got released.
It was impossible.
Everything that was, it was just, I mean.
I was waiting for the 11th hour injunction to stop
Never
theatrical
happened.
distribution. I mean, we were ready for it, but I was waiting for the attack, and it just miraculously never came.
We were short $1 million, 3 days to go. We're dead. We spent every dollar. I get a phone call out of nowhere. I'm in my production office. We're sweating. It's 20 minutes left in the day. And on the other end, I hear, send me your routing number. And I'm like, excuse me? You know, you just don't give your bank number to somebody who's just, send me your routing number. I'm flying over site with my jet. And I've been praying with my girlfriend. We prayed to Jesus 4 times. And He told me to send you $1 million. 8 minutes later, we had $1 million in our bank account. Excuse me? How many phone calls has anyone got where Jesus has told somebody to send them $1 million? Shocking, but every day on this movie.
It was
so
crazy.
what do we know? We either believe or we don't believe. We either go forward in belief or we don't. So when we wake up in the morning, we go to battle. Now, I would say one thing to your people as well. If you were to ask us, in other words, well, what do you guys need? How can we help? I tell you very simply to everyone out there, we're Bastogne. We are besieged and surrounded by the Germans. We have no supplies. We have no ammunition. We have nothing. And we're waiting for Pat and the Third Army to get to us. But they ain't coming. So all the people out there who have the ability to help in various ways need to help. Because if you want people to fight the fight, you've got to give them guns. You've got to give them bullets. And our guns and bullets is scripts and cameras and things like that we can go, and money to make these things. Okay? We've proven that it can be done. And by the way, when we stood up, others stood up because they watched. That's how you cause revolution, because others see what you do.
There are others willing to fight with us, but we need the resources to do it.
And the problem is it's tenacious. We're surrounded.
And those resources will not come from a studio. It just won't happen. You know, as we were discussing before this chat, if we were to suggest to people tend to believe that money is the god in Hollywood, and it's not. Money's a demigod in Hollywood. It's desirable, but it's not what rules. Political correctness and leftism is what rules Hollywood. The political agenda controls. So if we were to talk about that, we would offer, let's say, we would offer you an opportunity, and we said, oh, you're going to make a fortune, but you're going to violate every moral precept you have. It's going to completely destroy everything you believe in. You would look at us and say, of course not. I wouldn't do that. Why do we expect those who control Hollywood to operate otherwise? They don't do it.
There used to be a middle road. It's no longer there. The lines are drawn. It's very specific. There's a lot of them with a lot of money and a lot of corporations, and there is us. And then, all the people like us and all the people watching this, hopefully. We have to stand up. It's time. It's time. It's time to become muscular. It's time to be believers. It's time to go forward for what we believe. Otherwise, they're going to be telling us what to believe. And they're already doing that.
Well, and what you did was interesting because you managed to make films like this and you still somehow managed to get them into theaters. One.
Miracle.
Which
Yeah.
I didn't think was possible, to be honest.
Yeah. we were wondering whether it was possible too.
Yeah. And at the same time, you also showed that you can be successful doing this. I mean, you guys are here still standing. We're sitting here in LA, you know.
Yeah.
And you have a pretty nice facility here. Not you know what you'd expect in like Hollywood, you know, mainstream, but still nice.
The thing that was actually a positive for the most part regarding the theater chains is that while the studios are completely wrapped up in their political agenda, to date the theater chains have not been. The theater chains mostly just want to sell popcorn and Coca-Cola while they're showing a movie, and they make money on all those three. And if you can put people in those seats, then they, up until this point, at any rate, they're willing to have you in. And our product can do that, so they're willing to have us.
Well, I think those times are over. I think the change, I think there was a great evil done to the movie theaters and to the movie business. I think the movie theaters, when good material was in the theaters, I think it brought hope to people. People were able to laugh, get away from their lives and stuff where they were having too much, they had to pay the rent and stuff. And I think that evil knew that and crushed the theaters intentionally. And I think that theaters are going to now be absorbed by the Hollywood studios so that they will have the theater money and they will have the streaming money. They won't lose a dollar, and now they control the means of communication to the American people and to the world. Hollywood is the greatest propaganda machine that has ever existed. What did Stalin say? What did Lenin say? What did Hitler say? If I can control the movie theaters, I can control the world. There's a reason for that.
You guys really kind of broke the ice on a lot of this. You demonstrated that independent films can, one, be successful, two, can be of Hollywood quality, and three, can actually still exist within the ecosystem, even though they tried shutting you down every which way. What was the reaction among other people in Hollywood? Because I mean, I was shocked. I was reading online some of these other Hollywood conservative groups. It's like 1,600 members of some of them. I mean, there's not a small number of conservatives in Hollywood. It's just you don't hear from them.
They're not in control. They're not in control of the means of production. So their talent or their film crews, by the way, there are tons of conservatives working on film crews. People who work in the trades, editors, you know, assistant directors, grips, gaffers, there's lots of conservatives there. They just have to be quiet.
I think what happens in a lot of cases that, like I said before, if somebody sees somebody doing something, they stand up, they follow, they're inspired, they're moved, they're motivated, whatever it is, in that and that happens in the business. You know, one of the problems with Christian films in the beginning was they were bad. They were just terrible. But you know, I say to people in the 1920s, American films weren't great. You know, it takes time for people to learn the film process. And so what we aspired to do was to make real movies. And then once you did that, now all of a sudden that becomes the bar. Now everyone says, I can't make this anymore. It doesn't look right. It doesn't sound right. I need to get to this level. And then you keep doing that, and all of a sudden everyone's making real movies with real stories and stuff. And you know, that's what we aspire to do and try to do. And I think that, you know, any time throughout history, when a man stands up and leads, people follow. It's the way it is, for better and for worse. So.
And so what have you been hearing? Like, I mean, after you faced all these attacks, did you have people calling you up and say, "Hey, I want to make movies now too. Let's work together"?
Yeah.
I mean, how has this kind of unfolded?
It's crazy. I mean, some people, you know, you know, I'm inspired. I want to help you. I want to send this or that. I want to send money. I want to get me involved. You know, my son wants to be a photographer, an actor. You know, you get everything. The movie business got so many moving parts, and that people, but they get inspired. You know, sometimes I just say to people, they say, "What can I do?" You know, we get an old woman who said, "This was amazing." She's like 90, almost 100 years old. We got to do something, and I'm like, "Okay," you know, and how, you know, she's like, "But I can't, you know, because what can I do?" And we spoke for a little bit, and I said, "Well, pray for us." You know, and that's good, you know. So I just think it's time for people to get active. They've got to want to do it. They got to want to change it. You got to want to keep what you've got. I want to keep my house. I want to keep my freedom. I want to keep all these things. If you don't fight for that, somebody's going to take it. That's been the way since the beginning of history.
So what's next? What's the next step for you all?
Just keep doing what we do. I think until the day we die, we're going to do this. If the Lord called us to do something else, we would do it. But, we are passionate about this. And like I said, when we wake up in the morning, this is what we dream of. This is what we don't need to be inspired. We feel we're fighting the good fight. I always wanted to grow up in like the 30s and the 40s, because that was the heyday of Hollywood, but also World War II was fascinating to me. It was of the last war where you knew the good guys and you knew the bad guys. The bad guys literally had funky uniforms, like stormtroopers. I mean, the Germans, they really had the uniform thing going on, right, for the bad guy. And I wanted,
Once Rome went out of the bad guy business, these were the guys
Right.
you wanted as your villains.
And so,
The little skulls on their head.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. But it was the last time when you could see honor and valor and courage and dying for a reason and a cause and righteousness and freedom. America was great. It was great at that moment in history. And then now, you don't know who the enemies are a lot of the times. You don't know who's lying and who's not. And I think we have to get back to that simplicity of knowing right and wrong, good from evil. Bible says very specifically, in the end, good will become bad and bad will be good. We're there. We're there. In my opinion, we're there. And so when we wake up in the morning, this is a holy crusade for us. We're not stopping. And we're going to do it every day until we die. And we hope that other people out there do it.
It's just last question. I mean, if you were to tell anyone about what Hollywood really is, and based on that, why you're trying to do what you're doing, what would you tell them?
We can get in trouble here.
The
This
mechanism
is,
as it currently exists believe that its mission is to strip America of those values we consider the highest values. That's their job. It's not incidental. That's their job. That they need to be separated from primitive superstition that is known otherwise as Judeo-Christian religious belief, that it needs to be separated from what they believe are primitive sexual restrictions. That's their job, is to change America and pull that away from our culture, to strip it away and banish it forever. That's their mission statement.
I would say, unfortunately, Hollywood is the face of evil. I hate to say it. It was the greatest commodity in America for one point. I mean, it was in World War II. What Hollywood did was amazing. It supported freedom and all these things, but now the devil has corrupted it. It's dark. It's perverse. The things that go on here, people have no idea. I can tell people things they would not believe. It's incomprehensible. I'm talking things that are so off the hook. I'm not talking 1 to 10. I'm talking 1 to 1,000 and even further than that. It's the face of evil. It's the destructive mechanism that could destroy the world, and people don't see it. They don't see it because they don't want to see it, or that they don't see it because they haven't figured it out, or they just want to live their lives because they have to worry about the rent. And I get it. I'm not asking them to change their lives. I'm asking them to do something. You got to fight back. You got to help us, help guys like us, help guys and girls like this. There's a lot of people who want to fight the fight. But I do think it's the darkest entity that's in the world now.
Cary, Chuck, real pleasure having you on Crossroads. Thank you.
Thank you
so
very
much.
much.
Thanks so much.